Welcome to the Fiber Girl Show, a podcast committed to connecting communities and accelerating businesses through fiber optics. Now, here's your host, Tanya Bohannon.
Thanks for joining me today. I'm really excited to be here. In my previous podcast, we've discussed topics such as fiber in rural America, 5G implementation. Today, I thought it would be interesting to talk about the other side of the fiber industry, operations. So with that, I'm excited to announce that I have a co-host with me today. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you. Welcome.
Along with Teresa, we have a special guest today, Jim Vaughn, who is the co-founder and president of 3HV. Thank you for joining us, Jim.
Well, thank you, Tanya and Teresa, for having me on the show today.
We've got a lot to discuss today, but before we get started, Jim, I would like you to tell us a little bit about you and your background and what it is that you're doing now.
Okay, sure. My career has always been in high technology, whether it's computer software or computer communications equipment. My degree is from the University of Wisconsin in digital electronics and computer science. And right out of college, I ended up working for a software company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for a few years. And then I took a job with GTE, a global communications company in Tampa, Florida, and became a systems engineer for computer equipment and communications equipment. And then after that, I ended up working for some of the manufacturers of communications equipment. 3Com, back in the 90s, was the number one network interface card that people used in their computers, and as well as hubs and switches and routers. So I worked for them for a number of years, and then I was recruited by Cisco Systems, which is the global provider for anything on the internet, whether it's telephony or routers, switches, you name it. Cisco Systems makes it. And I was an executive there for 7 years, running a $1 billion business for them. And then I just kind of started my own software company after years of traveling around the world for Cisco. And that company was specifically targeting customer relationship management and loyalty software. And that would be for the power sports, marine, and RV industry. There was a lack of applications available in that space, in those vertical markets. So I spent 7 years developing with my software team and our sales team our software for that industry. And after those 7 years, we were bought out by a Fortune 500 company. Few years later, I was tapped on the shoulder by a friend of mine who is the president of OnTrack Inc. And they are a national fiber installation company. So they have operations all over the United States. And they had a similar problem that the power sports and RV and marine industry had, and that is there wasn't a software application that was specifically designed for operations and fiber installation. So I worked with my friend Monty for a number of years, putting together a software application design, and hired some developers, and off to the races we went. After a few years, we have what I would call a world-class application that allows operators to manage work order installations, repair work orders, scheduling for technicians in the field, warehouse and inventory management, asset management, fleet management, customer satisfaction, and quality control, as well as digital marketing. So the application is very robust and feature-rich for operators, and that's where I am today.
The need for fiber, Jim, has really increased through the years. And with your background, I know you've seen that growth. People are working more from home. Children have to be homeschooled. What are some of the reasons you feel the fiber industry is growing and continues to grow?
With the introduction of this global pandemic, this is an unprecedented situation where people were forced to, leave the office and be able to work from home, as well as children being able to stay home and do online learning. This is a compelling event that most organizations were already prepared for because they already had the infrastructure in place and the online software applications in place to allow that to happen. And people that did not, they had to scramble over the last 12 months to provide those for people to be able to work from home and schools to be able to educate children at home. And now with the federal government realizing that this is an absolute need, it's not just a luxury but a need. They are starting to fund fiber operators to in rural areas to provide dark fiber to the home. And this is a tremendous opportunity for the fiber industry. It's a tremendous opportunity for the rural areas of America, where the national and global communications companies like AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, Charter, Comcast, they are very busy providing high-speed internet and services in the larger metropolitan areas, and now the big push is for 5G. So they're very busy spending money and providing clients with the services they need in those large areas. And the rural areas are the places that kind of get left out. So with the federal government putting money behind it, a lot of small communities, municipalities, and electric cooperatives have decided that, hey, this is a need. This is no longer just some luxury. We have to have everybody in our community online. Mm-hmm. So that they went ahead and started putting in the dark fiber infrastructure to provide high-speed internet and high-speed services to the home and to business.
How about from a small business perspective, Teresa? We know there are millions of dollars out there in grants. How can a small business play a role in the growing fiber industry?
Well, I think there is definitely a need as a fiber optic company, whether or not it's construction or the software end of it, is actually the need for increased information from our customers. And that could be, as a subcontractor or from the fiber optic providers themselves. So with that increased information, it makes it more difficult as a company to, at least in the office end, to make sure that we can get all that information together that they need, whether it's pictures or what they've done in the field or readings, test readings. So that's a growing challenge for companies like ours that are trying to provide that service.
Well, there are so many different needs out there. When we work with one company, they've got a specific need. Then you work with another company, and they've got a specific need. Jim, how does that work with your software? Does it encompass all of the needs that you find a lot of businesses have out there?
Well, the software that we created at 3HV was kind of a specialty application for operations. So this is municipalities and cooperatives and even larger communications companies. They have to have the ability to track, technicians in the fields, work orders, and everything regarding the operation. With our application, once that order comes in for that 100 Main Street location, the work order is created for installation. There's a variety of people that have to be involved. That's very different than a lot of workforce management applications on the market, where you get a job and I can do one thing. Our software allows for multiple jobs to be assigned to a single work order, and then monitor where are we at with the underground crew, where are we at with the pre-site survey. And all while this is happening, you have to record information. And then when you have the customer sign off on everything, having that record that the customer was educated and everything was fine, and we did not dig up their flower bed or something like that while we were doing the installation. Yeah, so often people will call up a week later or a couple days later and say, "Hey, I never got educated," or "Hey, the guys that were doing the aerial work, sawed up a big branch on my tree or something like that," and like, "Well, wait a minute, I got pictures, and let me look at it. Let me look at what happened." And so it's not he said, she said. It's here's the facts. Here's the way we left it when we left your home. And then probably one of the most one of the two most great features of the application is customer satisfaction. As that customer is handed a tablet, which is what the premise technician has out in the field. The technician says, "Hey, we're finished. Can you go ahead and sign off on this work order?" Just like your UPS or FedEx driver handed you a little tablet to sign off that you received the package. Once they sign, it immediately asks them 2, 3, or 4 customer satisfaction questions. So operators in the past have used a number of ways to see if customers were happy with the service they received and the installation they got. Typically, this was a mailed postcard or an email that was sent to them later with a link to fill out a survey, using software like SurveyMonkey or something like that. Or even on their next bill, it'll ask them a survey question. The trouble with that is the take rate, or the number of people that will actually take the survey, dramatically is reduced the longer you wait to ask the customer to do the survey. So postcard typically is 3 to 5% will respond to that. A email with a link is typically 30% or less that will respond to that. But when you hand someone a tablet and ask for their signature, and it immediately pops up with an emotional emoji saying, "Are you happy, sad, neutral, or mad?" about each one of these questions, you get immediate response, and you get 100% because they're in the moment. They've been there. They've used the service. They've seen what you've done to their yard. So you get immediate response, and managers and supervisors, when they see a whole bunch of mad faces about the installation, they can immediately go out and resolve the issue.
Right. What amazes me, though, especially in this time of technology, that so many companies are still keeping track of information on spreadsheets.
Yes. So that's a great point. Most municipalities or electric cooperatives, if they've offered high-speed internet in the past, and they've been doing it for a few years now, typically they're using 2, 3, or 4 different applications to manage everything we just talked about. They have a couple of spreadsheets. They have homegrown databases. They have a fleet management or warehouse management application that's specifically for that. And the amount of money they're spending on all those things, and the amount of time that is wasted by those individuals that have to manage all those different applications and spreadsheets is very measurable. So we saw a huge need, as OnTrack Inc. was looking for off-the-shelf applications that do all this stuff. They didn't find anything, and now our software does everything you are required to run your operations, including digital marketing. So if you're offering electricity service, you really don't have to market to anybody about buying electricity. You build a house, and I have to have electricity. If I'm a municipality, I'm providing water, sewer, trash pickup, and a whole myriad of services to my community, but I don't have to market that. Now all of a sudden, you're giving a product that it's a competitive market. Yeah. So how do I get 40%, 60% of my community to sign up for this service? And most municipalities and electric cooperative organizations don't have a marketing department. So they're kind of stuck with, putting a billboard or sending out flyers with their bill, with their electric bill or their water bill. And, this is a digital age, as you said, Tanya. And with our digital marketing software, it allows our module inside of our software, it allows you to upload your entire database into the application. So everybody that buys water from you, everybody that buys electricity from you, is in your database. Now I can electronically market through email and text message, and all people have to do is click a button and sign up.
Yeah, it's quite amazing now that the REMCs, the internet is actually a utility now. It's another way to connect to their customers. So it is quite amazing how that is changing, and very quickly.
So, it's always a compelling event, right, that makes mankind to change the course or direction that they're going. And so take the telephone. Back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, it was an absolute luxury to have a telephone. And, businesses caught on right away to have a telephone so they could communicate with each other. But for the home, it was an absolute luxury. And then when World War II hit and, the continental United States was threatened by invasion, the federal government actually put the money up to tell AT&T. That's why they consolidated all the telephone companies into one telephone company, and they told them, we want every household in the United States to have a telephone. And that way we can have an early warning system for national security. So today, internet service has been more than a luxury. It's become a necessity for a lot of people because of convenience of shopping and information and online learning and things like that. But with the global pandemic, that's the compelling event that has really told the government, or the government said, hey, this is a need that every American should have. And so now hundreds of billions of dollars are being put out there for grants for municipalities and cooperatives to provide high-speed internet to their communities. It's a great time to be in the fiber industry because everybody needs high-speed fiber, and everyone needs high-speed internet. And because of the distance issues in the rural areas, cellular is great, but there's some problems with distance. As everyone knows, I need to have so many antennas to cover a community. And when you're out in the farmlands, of Nebraska, Wisconsin, or someplace like that, it's miles and miles, sometimes 20, 30 miles, from the town, and there's 15 houses out there that you have to connect. And so dark fiber is the answer. And the other great thing about fiber optics is it's scalable. So what I mean by that is, back in our day in the 90s, internet access with 3 megabits down and 1 megabit up, that was huge. And back in the 80s, it was 1200 baud or 300 baud, right, to connect with a dial-up modem. And today, we're talking about gigabit connections, and all you have to do is design a piece of communications equipment that can go to 10 gig, 100 gig. And talking to my buddies at Cisco Systems, they're already testing, 1.2 terabyte connections for, so that's the kind of speeds that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And fiber optic cabling can support all that.
How many years, Jim, do you think it will be before we see all homes and businesses set up with fiber?
Well, I would say this is top of mind for every municipality across the United States, if not across the world. This is unprecedented times, and children have to be educated. People have to work, and giving them internet access is the answer to both those problems. I can work from home on the most part, and I can be educated from home on the most part as well. So with the money being put up by the federal government, I don't see why in 10, 20 years, in 20 years' time, every home across the United States would have a high-speed internet connection in some form. And as you know, now Musk has launched a variety of low-orbit satellites to provide satellite internet services. So, that's an answer for the person in Antarctica or somewhere way out in the middle of nowhere that no one's going to provide a fiber optic connection or a cellular connection. So I would say in 20 years or less, and maybe even 10 years or less, because this has become a huge national focus. And as you know, when the federal government gets behind something, when the American people get behind something, we go get it done, and we can do it quickly. So it could be 10 years or less.
You gave us some great information, Jim, on how your software can help streamline our businesses. If someone wanted to get a hold of you, how can they contact you?
So 3hv.com would be the starting place for contacting us, and we have all of our information there, our address and phone numbers, and a lot of information regarding the software and features and capability of the application, as well as some customer testimonials.
Well, thank you very much for that. And thanks again for all of the information. I think we're going to see some exciting things with the fiber industry in the near future. Thank you again, Jim. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
TAK Fiber Optics appreciates you taking the time to listen. We hope that this has provided you some helpful information. Again, if you would like some information regarding the software that we talked about tonight, you can contact them at 3hv.com. And if you or someone you know would like to be a guest on our podcast, you can contact us at info@thefibergirlshow.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen.